From the headquarters of the Guild of Champions, this is the Becoming Thin podcast, and I am your host, Chris Terrell. Welcome to another week of your weight loss quest. How did this last week go for you, champion? What new challenges did you encounter? But more importantly, what failure did you go through, and what lesson did you get from that failure? Come on now. Don't let a perfectly good failure go by without you getting your lesson. It's your reward for your troubles, after all. Now, if you're new here, I've lost 125 pounds myself after an entire adulthood of chronic yo-yo dieting. Up, down, up again. Before I finally got sick and tired of being sick and tired of that, and made some permanent, meaningful, and actual changes to my real-life lifestyle, habits, routines, environment, community, and to my systems of belief. Because it's all 6 of those things that create the results of my life, and if I wanted to get new results, I was going to have to go change those 6 things in a permanent, meaningful, and deep way. And if you want to get new results in your life that last, like becoming thin, healthy, happy, and in shape, you're going to have to go change those same 6 things. You know, many of us, we started this journey off obese, morbidly obese. You know, I was 290, which in the realm of the people I tend to work with, I'm actually, it's weird to say, like, I wasn't that big by comparison to a lot of others. You know, I lost 125 pounds, but you know, we have a term in the guild, we call it Tutopia, because we think we want to celebrate people making it to the 200s, because a lot of people are you know, they haven't seen a 2 in front of their number in a while. And anyway, so when you're that big and you want to go to the other side and go live life forever as a thin person, you're going to have to make big, deep changes to your life. Like you're going to notice. But I mean, you don't have to change them all at once. That's the good part. You don't have to change them all at once. You can change them slowly, and you can change them over time. And you'll begin to get the benefits of all these changes as they stack and as they compound and as they help each other out. Like when you begin to sleep better, it makes it easier to work out. And when it's easier to work out, that helps you with your mental health. It helps you physically feel better, which helps your body run better, which makes it easier to sleep better. And all of that helps you with emotional regulation. When that would help you reduce the urge to emotionally eat. See how all these things are interconnected. And that's an important part of this to remember, is there's not just one thing you have to do. It's a whole bunch of things, a whole bunch of little things. You just start changing and tweaking and adjusting all the decisions in your life that you're already making. Now, in the Becoming Thin Facebook group, which is my free Facebook group, you can find that by going to becomingthin.com. I believe I have a link there. Or you can just search for Becoming Thin on Facebook, and you'll find it there, black background, yellow text. Request to join. Would love to have you be there. We're just about to cross 7,000. We're so close. We're so close. Another push and get it over the edge. But I'd love to have you come be a part of that. But in that Facebook group, I asked people to give questions down below. I answered several questions last week. There were a lot of questions I was not able to get to, and I'd like to get to them. So I'm going to dive in here to the comment section to pick up questions that I was not able to touch on. So our first question comes here from Julie. Body dysmorphia. How do we know if we are healthy enough? How can we learn to accept ourselves whatever size? How do we be okay with ourselves? We reach a new goal, but some things can't be perfect. Like someone getting plastic surgery. Then they find something else to seek perfection and keep having surgeries, and it will never be enough for them. Have you ever heard the old children's story, if you give a mouse a cookie, it'll want a glass of milk? And I think that's an important thing about humans, is if we're not careful, we can find ourselves stuck in a trap of constantly chasing the next thing. Constantly going, I'll be happy when. I'll feel good about myself when. I'll love my body when. I'll love my life when. Everything is just a when. It's always later. And a life can, if we're not careful, becomes just reduced to waiting. Looking forward to the next thing, but always forgetting that the happiness that you're wanting, the satisfaction that you're wanting, you experience that in the present. You don't experience it in the future. So how do we know if we are healthy enough? I don't know that that's a question that needs answering. I think it's just, are you improving your health? Are you managing your health? because healthy enough, I mean, you could always be healthier, I suppose, once you reach a certain age. And you're always going to have to keep taking care of it. So it's not like there's a done. It's not like there's a finish line. And then the other part of your question, how can we learn to accept ourselves, whatever size? Some of this is, I think, comes down to separating your self-worth from your body, like splitting those two apart. Many of us, our identity has gotten attached to being big, attached to the struggle of managing our weight, having difficulties controlling it. And sometimes we've gone through life being told that you're not meant to feel the certain levels of happiness and peace and relief unless you have met certain conditions. And only under these conditions should you feel this way. And if those conditions aren't met, maybe you shouldn't. And so many of us will begin to think, okay, well, my body needs to have a 1 in front of the weight. Okay, well, now that's not enough. Now it needs to be 180. Okay, well, that's not enough. Now it needs to be 160. Well, okay, well, that's not enough. And I think it's important that we de-emphasize how important it is to be small, which is ironic considering this is a Becoming Thin podcast, and I have a Becoming Thin website and Facebook group. But that's why I have the core 4 goals of becoming thin, healthy, happy, and shape. These are 4 independent goals. And you work on all 4 of them independently. Yes, they affect each other. If you work on your weight, if you're morbidly obese, you are going to be improving your health just by extension, right? It may or may not help it a ton, but it's going to help it some. But that doesn't necessarily make you get in shape. You could be becoming thin and improving your health, but not getting in shape. And becoming happy, you could be working on your happiness and not lose any pounds. But you need that one too. And if you're struggling with ever accepting that you're done, part of this could be, have you recognized that you identify with the struggle of struggling with your weight? Like, that this is an important thing. Like, who would I be if I wasn't always dealing with this? Who would I be if I just accepted myself how I was? What would I do? Would I give up? And I think it's important that you love your body as it is, looking at it from a different perspective. Rather than looking for what you wish would be different, look for the presence of positives. Like you mentioned here with the plastic surgery and always chasing the next thing. Many of us begin this journey looking at our body and looking at ourselves as a matter of, what about myself can I delete? What about my personality can I make be gone? What about my body can I make be gone? And I suppose there's utility in that in the beginning, but I also suppose that there's utility in switching to focusing on the presence of positives, or the positives that you would like to add to your life. Rather than saying, I don't want this second chin, you could say, I want a jawline. 2 ways of saying the same thing, but one is more what you would like to add to your life, and the other is focusing on what you would like to remove. Does it make a difference which one you focus on? I think it does, but that's my opinion. Maybe you should test it and see what you think. Take 6 months and just relentlessly focus on the positives about your body. Relentlessly focus on the positives about yourself. Instead of saying what you want gone, say what you want to take its place. I think that sometimes can really help. And also getting a matter of perspective on your body, remembering that, you got to be careful, this one's a slippery slope, but remembering that it could be worse. Wherever you're at, you could make your situation worse. And then you would be looking at where you're at going, gosh, I wish I would have appreciated it when I had it. So accept where you are and accept gratitude for what you are and where you are now, and love yourself today, because there's perfectly good grass underneath your feet. You don't need to go over the hill to get to the greener grass. Maybe the grass is greener over there. Maybe it's not. The problem is you don't know. But if you look down at your feet, everything you need is right there. And instead of accepting yourselves, I think, and we'll end on this, how do we be okay with ourselves? You don't do it once. You accept yourself again, and then when you reject yourself, you correct to say no, and you accept yourself again, and you accept yourself again, and you accept yourself again. You choose to ignore the beliefs and opinions of others, and you choose to accept yourself. And you keep doing it again and again and again and again. And what happens is eventually you start believing it. Is that crazy? I don't think so. No. I mean, we talk ourselves into all sorts of things. So, good question, Julie. Thanks for asking that one. Our next question comes to us from Kelly. What's the secret to staying consistent? I can't seem to do that, and I get frustrated and want to give up. Makes me feel like I'm constantly starting again. Is this just something you keep trying? Will it finally become a habit after a lot of practice? So what's the secret to staying consistent, Kelly? The secret to staying consistent is always getting up. I find that you can't ask yourself to be perfect, not over a long term. Sure, you could do perfect for bursts, short little things. But to ask yourself to be perfect at exercising for 10 years is probably unreasonable. I think you got to give yourself a little wiggle room. And one of the things that really has helped me in my journey when it comes to taking care of myself is never missing something twice in a row. And if I notice that I'm missing something twice in a row, I need to stop doing that. Because what I don't want to do is develop momentum, sort of psychological momentum and inertia going the wrong way. And I want to develop momentum going forward, or at least staying the same. And so let's say you set a goal of you're going to get 7,000 steps a day, 10,000, well, let's say 10,000 steps a day. And you look down at your watch and you see you had 6,000 steps a day and it's like 10 o'clock at night. Well, I'd be like, just go to bed. I mean, if you want to go out and crush it and get the 10 and just say so you could say you did it and you want to go challenge yourself and be out there and push yourself, I've done that. But if you could be like, the other thing I've done that I do a lot, like probably more than the other, is I just go to bed. But I tell myself, I will not miss my goal tomorrow. Like no matter what, I will not miss my goal tomorrow. I'll do what I got to do to make sure I get it. And that is the important thing. You miss once, fine. You get up and you hit it the next time. And then you might fall down again the next day. Okay, that's fine. Then you get up and you don't miss it the next day. So let's say you're going to track your calories and you do it today, but then tomorrow you mess it up about halfway through the day and you forget. That's fine. You give yourself the grace. But then the next day you get up and you track your calories and you do whatever it takes. That's the secret to staying consistent. It's not preventing yourself from falling down. It's ensuring that you always get back up. And one of the things that helps you get back up is not being critical of yourself. Not being judgy of yourself. Instead, think of a child that fell down when they were riding a bike. Would you walk up to that kid and be like, wow, maybe you shouldn't do this? Like, that was like your second try. I mean, did you ever consider that maybe you're just not destined to ride a bike because you just look at you fucking suck. You can't even stay up for like half a second. Seriously, kid? Half a second. Even my grandma can ride a bike for more than half a second. Maybe you should stop. Like, what do you think a kid would do if their parent came up and started trying to talk them back up to get on the bike after that? Even if the kid did it, the kid would just have this terrible opinion of themselves. No, of course you wouldn't do that. Of course you wouldn't do that because you're a compassionate person. You wouldn't do that. You'd walk up to the kid and you would be like, are you okay? And you'd be like, yo, it's so fine. You'll be fine. Look at this. It's just a little bump. It's part of the process. Come on, let's get back up. I'll help you this time. Just pedal a little faster. You got this and you can do it. I'll be right there with you. You see like how the child would make the child feel safe and encouraged? What if you did that to yourself? You get to pick which headspace you show up to yourself with when you fall down. So part of staying consistent is becoming good at getting back up. And part of becoming good at getting back up involves being kind to yourself when you've fallen down. Going, what have I learned here? What can I do different? How can I carry this forward into the next one? Now, and you say here, it makes me feel like I'm constantly starting again. So Kelly, that is the story you're telling yourself. If you were to change the story in your head, you would not get that feeling. And so like when you fall down and you get back up, would you again, let's go back to the bike analogy of the child. Would you tell the child we're starting over? No, because you know that when you're learning to ride a bike, failure is a part of the process. It's a part of the learning experience so that you learn how to ride a bike. The same too goes with this. You're going to fail. Like, yeah, you're going to. That's like not optional. That's part of the process. failing, getting back up is part of the process. So you're not starting over, you're continuing on. And that's a different story that you have in your mind. I mean, you could just drop the stories altogether and just be like, I did that, now I'm going to do something different. Does it mean anything? I don't know. I'm just not going to worry about it. I'm just going to go do the thing. But think of the story you're telling yourself that's causing you to feel like you're constantly starting again. It's just stop telling yourself that story. Anytime you catch yourself telling that story, stop it. Now, you might need to identify that story. So pull out a journal and write down, why do I feel like I'm constantly starting again every time I get back up? And just answer that question. And find the story that you're telling yourself so that we can go, okay, here's the bullshit. This is the bullshit story. Anytime I see this bullshit, I'm going to say to myself, this is bullshit. This isn't true. This is what I want to believe. And then on the next page, write a more empowering story. Write a story that's not one of starting again. Write one that focuses on the getting up, not on the falling down. Because right now, when I read this, it seems like you might be focusing more of the energy onto the falling down versus the getting back up. And is this something you keep trying? Yeah, it is. I mean, it's like riding a bike. You know, you fall, you get up, you fall, you get up, you fall, you get up, and then you never fall again until you try something risky. And will it finally become habit after a lot of practice? Again, going back to the bike analogy, yeah. You know, when you're first learning to ride a bike, you have to pay attention to a lot of things, even the balancing. But after you've been riding a bike for a while, you don't even got to pay attention. It just becomes second nature. It becomes habitualized at that point. Good question. Thank you for asking that, Kelly. Hey, if you enjoy the podcast and you are on Apple Podcasts, I would love it if you gave me a rating and a review. I'd love to have the opportunity to earn a 5-star rating. So if you're new to the podcast, it'd be great if you give me a few listens before you go give a review. But I'd love to get some reviews onto the show. It does get it in front of more people. And if you are on Spotify, I do read all those comments. You could leave a comment there, and I love getting those. And those of you that listen to this on YouTube, hi. I'd love it if you left a comment as well. Let me know what stands out from you in the show. And of course, you can let me know what you think about the podcast over in the Becoming Thin Facebook group. Let's look at our next question. Our next question comes to us from Rachel. I know motivation comes from action, but how do you initiate that action when you feel drained by even the thought? Let's talk philosophically about this one. When I was on my weight loss journey, I was battling what you're describing here. There's something that I would need to do, and I would have zero motivation to do it. Let's say that thing was, well, you know what, we're just going to pick a super cliche one. Let's say I needed to go to the gym. Not that it's a magical activity. It's just an easy example of an activity that many people listening to the podcast have struggled with either now or in the past. And so I'd be sitting at home on my chair watching my TV in the beginning days and going, I need to go work out. Oh, it's going to take like an hour and a half. Oh, I just don't want to do all that. I don't even, and I would sit there and I would just hem and haw about it. And I'd come up with all these reasons why it's going to be hard. But what I started doing that really helped is I stopped focusing on the whole thing. Like going to work out. That's actually a lot of things. That's gathering up all my clothes. That's putting my clothes on. That's getting in the vehicle. That's driving the vehicle to the gym. That's getting myself to get out of the vehicle into the gym, which is sometimes a process. And then getting myself in the gym from the locker room to getting myself dressed up to getting up to the floor to do my first lift, right? And then I got to go through the whole workout, moving to different lifts. And then I got to go back and then I got to change clothes. And then, like, if I just sit and start, even right now as I'm rattling all this off, I'm like, gosh, that sounds like a lot of work. It'd be overwhelming. It would not be motivating in the beginning days when I didn't have like that, like, oh, I'm going to get this mental reward for doing it. So what I started doing was focusing on smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller units of time and tasks that would lead to what my ultimate desired outcome. So if my ultimate desired outcome was that I will go to the gym today and I'm sitting on my chair after work and I'm not getting myself to do it, I would just say like, why won't you go, self? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know where my shoes are. I'm like, okay, just go find your shoes and put them next to you. Just go find them, sit them next to you, sit back down on the chair, and you can keep watching your TV. Okay, so I'd go get the shoes and set them down next to me. I'm like, all right, what else do you need to do? I was like, well, I need to put on my gym shorts and a t-shirt. and find some socks. Okay, well, just go do that. You don't have to go to the gym. And besides, the gym shorts are comfy. So if you end up staying in them, they're comfy. So go ahead and just put them on. All right, fine. So I go put them on, sit back down on the chair, watching more TV. And then I'm like, well, I can put on my shoes, right? I gotta put on my shoes. So I go ahead and stop and put on my shoes. Now I'm still sitting there watching TV, but now I got my shoes on. I kind of feel like I'm supposed to be going somewhere. Like it's like my mind is getting primed. So then I'm like, well, let's switch it from the TV to my phone, and I'll just keep watching the show I'm watching in my vehicle. So I go get it, and I go get it in my car, and I put it up on the mountain. I just sit there in the driveway and watch it. And it's done, and I'm like, well, I'm here. Let's just drive over to the gym. Let's find a good podcast or something fun to listen to, and I find something, turn it on, drive to the gym. Then I sit there and piddle in the vehicle. I'm like, well, let's just go in and do one lift, right? If I'm in there for 5 minutes, if I'm not feeling it, I can go home. So I go in, start 5 minutes, and well, I mean, I'm here. I could do one more lift. I can half-ass one more and half-ass another one. And then but by now my body's woken up. I'm moving. I'm finding some good music. I'm kind of getting in the groove. And I'm like, well, I could probably push on the next set. And then you push. And then next thing you know, you go out and you have a great rest of your workout and you go home feeling great. But you see, rather than trying to motivate myself to do all of those things, which is a lot, I just motivated myself to do the next thing. Go find my shoes. And then the next thing, go find my shorts. And then the next thing, put my socks on. Just focus on the next individual task. And that really, really helps. Because then if you feel drained by the thought, it's not that you're being drained by the thought. It's you're probably giving yourself too big a thought, too big a thing to focus on. So just make it smaller. And just trust yourself that as you take teeny tiny actions towards your ultimate desired outcome, you'll find your way. Good question, Rachel. Thanks for asking that one. All right, our next question comes to us from, I'm not sure how to say this name, Hanneke. Hennek? I'm not sure how to say that. I apologize for butchering your name. If you come into the Facebook group and give me a phonetic spelling of that I would love to know how to say your name correctly. Because the people don't get my name right all the time. They say Terrell instead of Terrell. But your question, from a newbie, what's the difference between enjoying a night of Netflix after a week of work and walking away from your feelings? I really enjoy my Friday night Netflix night. And yes, there's some snacks, not overdone. Does it mean that you cannot enjoy your next episode? No, not at all. I don't know there's anything wrong with sitting watching Netflix. It's just the same reason why I don't think there's any good foods or bad foods. I don't think there's necessarily, generally speaking, good behavior, bad behaviors for like weight management things, right? Because you're looking at them on an individual isolated level. Like if you're doing this once a week, no, of course there's no problem with it. If you're doing it 7 nights a week for 4 hours a night, okay, well, that might be a little excessive. It's same thing with like ice cream. If you're like, well, hey, I love ice cream and I would like to still have some ice cream. Is there anything wrong with having ice cream? It's like, no, there's nothing wrong with having ice cream. Ice cream's fine. But if you're going to have it 2 bowls 5 nights a week, every week of the month, well, okay, well, hold on. That's actually a lot of calories. That might be problematic, but it's more the volume thing. So the other part you got to look at is the motive behind it. If it's like your regular routine and you do it if you're in a good mood, you do it if you're in a bad mood, you're enjoying what humanity has created. We've created these streaming services. We got some nice food. I think that's fine because there's intentionality behind it. But let's say you have your normal snacks, but then now you're adding a whole bunch of extra snacks one night. Well, okay, well now why? Why are you adding a whole bunch of extra suddenly? I think when you have a routine that you're sticking to and you're just tweaking and adjusting the routine, that makes it less in the moment emotionally driven. And so I don't think there's anything wrong with how you're describing it here. In fact, I would encourage you to do that. I would encourage you to still enjoy your Netflix, lose weight in a way that you plan to live for the next 10 years. So unless you plan to abandon Netflix for 10 years, I would encourage you to still watch Netflix and figure out how to lose weight and manage your weight while having Netflix as a part of your life. You might find you have to adjust the ratio, but again, 1 night a week, I'm not even saying you need to limit it to 1. That's not what I'm saying. You just wrote this as 1 night a week. I really don't see any problem with that. I don't know that I'd see anything wrong with watching a little bit of TV every day, right? Again, it's the volume. If you're doing 4 hours a day, 7 days a week, well, think about that. That's 28 hours a week? That's like that's a serious part-time job right there, dedicating to it. So, good question. Good question. Glad you asked that one. All right, let's do one more question, and then we'll wrap up for the day. I think there was one up here I didn't get to answer. Here we go. Andy. Oh, hi, Andy. I keep learning that emotional eating can be subtle and sneaky. How can you tell if someone has enough of a grasp on it to make progress? And what are some common things regarding that you see people subtly miss that stops progress? How can you tell if someone has a grasp on it to make progress? You have to be tested. I realize this with myself, that the only way I can know if I have changed is I have to go through a hard time and see how I handle myself and just see what I do. And it can't be like a wussy hard time. It needs to be a for realsies one. And the beauty of life is usually you just got to wait around for a little bit and they just sort of happen. A difficult time of life will show up and we see how you respond to it. How do you approach it? And then you look at how you handled it and you find the gaps in your strategy. You see where you made your missteps. And I think one of the things that people miss is they get so upset at themselves when they make mistakes, so to speak, when they slip up during very difficult times. And rather than going, no, this was just data. This is just life is showing me the cracks in my strategy. And the other thing that people miss is they dilly-dally fixing those things. They drag their feet or they never get around to adjusting their beliefs, their philosophies, their principles, their practical strategies. Like if a person loses control, here, I'll pull one from myself. I've shared this story many times. At a certain point, I had to just stop keeping wheat thins in my place because I keep getting into them and I keep just demolishing the wheat thins. So if I'm going to keep doing this, and if I keep bringing them in the house, this is my fault. Because if I don't bring them in the house, I have demonstrated to myself that when times get hard, I don't eat. I'm not willing to drive and go buy them. I'm just it's almost like I'm pre-planning my emotional eat by buying my emotional eating food and bringing it in the house. And so this is where a person, when they make a mistake, if they don't immediately turn around and go, okay, what happened that caused me to be willing to do this, to overindulge in this food or to overindulge in sitting for 5 days? What can I change? What could I implement in my life that would make that better? So a stress test, you could call it. Your life stress tests if you have really gotten a grasp of your emotional eating. Now, you can place yourself in stressful situations and see how you handle it. I mean, there's nothing saying they have to be unplanned. But if life gives you an unplanned, stressful time, just say, okay, well, didn't know we were stress testing my life today, so I guess we're stress testing it this month. And you just do it. I mean, it's here anyway. You might as well turn it into something useful if the situation's going to be here regardless. All right, well, thanks for coming, everybody. Thanks for listening to the podcast. Thanks for coming back each week. And I said I was going to have an answer on if I was going to open the guild doors on Black Friday. I will be doing some sort of sale on Black Friday. I've decided, yes, I will do something. I don't know what it's going to be yet, so stay tuned. Keep listening to the podcast. I will post, or I'll give updates here, and I'll post them in the Facebook group for anybody that's interested in joining. And so stay tuned to that. Otherwise, have a great week. And I'll see you next week on the the Becoming Thin podcast. I said the old name. That's fun.